Welcome to TriYoga for Health. Today I am thrilled to introduce Kaliji, the founder of TriYoga. Kali has just returned from a trip. I have to read this, Kali, it's so long. From South Africa, India, China, Taiwan, and officiated in the opening of 2 new TriYoga centers. How many TriYoga centers are there now?
There's nearly 40 centers, throughout the world, and we are teaching in around 40 countries as well. There's not one per country, but the flow is just going around the planet over and over.
And I understand a number of new students, new teachers got certified in China. How many TriYoga teachers are there around the world now?
Well, it's reaching around 1,000 at this time.
Wow. And
around 200 or so in China. And we today have a wonderful teacher training program going on there, even as we speak.
It's amazing, the spread around the globe, And one of the things I found, and which is what this program's about, talking about yoga for health, not necessarily what people think about yoga exercise and extreme postures, but how we use it to really transform our lives. When I started TriYoga, I met Kaliji 19 years ago, and at the time I had been in wrist braces for 12 years, and since then I've healed my wrist, I've healed bulging discs in the back, I've recovered from knee surgery, shoulder surgery, just everything. And in my own students, I've seen it transform just any ailment, body, mind, and spirit. So can you please talk about this special method and why it is so therapeutic?
Well, when a yoga is approached systematically with the understanding of the body mechanics, but in our case, how the life energy increases through this practice, when one approaches it, as I mentioned, in a systematic way and also in a scientific way, then the inherent therapeutic values begin to emerge. One thing that's characteristic is that we honor the spine in its wave-like shape, so our whole body follows this wave. And if we look into the inner body, we can see that there's waves throughout. We don't find as a straight line, whether it be how the blood flows, how the communication takes place between our brain and the rest of the body, the intestines. We could go on and on. It's a wave inside. But again, we look back at the spine and it has these 4 waves, and our body, as it moves through these various yoga postures, they're connected by a wave-like movement. Or at least we know exactly the spine is maintaining a natural alignment, or again, if it's going to roll or rotate, or it has a lateral flexion. We know precisely what the spine is doing the whole time. And we've often heard that we're only as healthy as our spine is flexible. And there's great truth within that, and even hidden further into that. There's so much that we can say about bringing our spine into alignment. And then from that, also honoring all the different waves inside. So if we think of it in just in a logical way, it only makes sense that on the outside, the more that our body can flow and can connect, that it's going to have some effect, some very deep effect on the inner body. So from its very origin, it's been inspired, if we could say in simple terms, by the movement of energy. In Asian countries, this is readily understood because they have so many healing modalities that are based upon how to activate qi. And when you look at that and you see what we're doing, even though the movement is different, you can still see similarities. You can see, like in Tai Chi, a very slow, conscious movements taking place. You can see in many of their different movements how that there's something else they're trying to connect with, or something else that feels like it's inspiring it. And their systems would call it qi, and another system ki. In our yogic terms, we call it prana. So TriYoga originated through this inspiration. So by its very nature, it's going to be therapeutic. By its very nature, it's going to be meditative. So if we want to really connect with the health of our body, we've known for eons of time through yoga that you have to have body-mind health. Now, of course, we've been hearing about it for so long in the West, but we have research proving it. How our mind thinks, it'll have an effect upon our body, and vice versa. The way we hold tension in our body will block the flow of energy, will limit the functions of our body, and that lack of energy, whether it be on a subtle or physical level, will have an effect upon our mind. So in yoga, we see that we are here to balance this body and mind through the linking of the breath. As we increase the breath, we increase vitality in the body. As we increase the length of the breath, we create more mental clarity. So in TriYoga, on one level, we can say it's this harmony, this synergy that takes place of conscious body movement, conscious breath work, and a conscious mind. These are our three main instruments, that our consciousness works through. So if we can bring these three into harmony in a systematic way, based on a science, truly, because this method is like the art and science of how to flow this energy through these three main instruments. So again, just by its very nature, the way it came into being, by the qualities it creates in our body, in our breath, and our mind, it's highly therapeutic. We can't even, that would be an understatement. We can't express it enough.
Yes.
Often, said when like new students come to class and they see, oh, you're moving so slow, that looks really easy, and they're ready, think I want something fast, We're trained to think that's going to give us fast results, fast movement, fast results. But as this movement came forth, it's gone through three stages of movement. It has had slow, it's moderate, and fast. You've witnessed during the times of receiving this knowledge how it's come forth. But there's a purpose for each stage. However, still that slow movement is the main part of our practice, The others are just added here and there to change the pacing for a specific cause. But overall, having a slow movement, it's not, for us, it's like it's very meditative. It's like Tai Chi, you can't imagine it going fast. It's meditative, it's placing us in moment-to-moment awareness. We can only enter that meditative flow through the flow. And so there's reasons for it. But when a person then attempts to do it, they say, wow, this requires so much, where before them going fast. For example, if you may have tightness in the lower thoracics or something, in your spine, some area, it's so easy to just go fast and jump right over it. But we're accountable for every movement, so vertebra by vertebra. And each of us have around 33, 24 separate. And we move each one. We have equal focus given. So it's like this dynamic massage up and down our back. And we can't jump over it by going fast. It's like anytime you go faster, you first have to learn that slow to be able to maintain the correct alignment. And so when people do practices, they do feel that the slow, they can start to access everything in their body. It starts to communicate with them. We don't leave anything unturned, really, to say, at least on that. But the slow movement now has been shown in research for the past many years that it's the most strengthening to the body is to move slowly with alignment. We've been doing that since I began to teach it over 30 years ago. Research has shown us the same, and that's why at the conferences that you've been attending are speaking of this slow movement, working with the breath. But this is yoga though. Even in ancient times, it was to be more sattvic. It wasn't a fast. That's something that came more later as one of the expressions of Hatha Yoga. And there's something for everyone in Hatha Yoga. Some people who want that, then it's available. But what we're talking about is the health aspects. And again, back in ancient yoga, it was to create greater health. It can be for your life, obviously, but it's to make the body fit for meditation. And it takes great discipline. So the slow movement requires that, pulls forth that discipline in us. But the result is therapeutic for both body and mind. And as I said, it prepares our meditation seat for meditation. TriYoga is a comprehensive yoga method. It does have all the different attributes, that you would want to find in yoga, whether you are looking for it or not. People come to yoga and think I'm coming to heal my back, because we hear story after story of that. We create space there, and suddenly the healing starts to take place. We become so contracted, and having such bad body postures that we think, oh, pain is just part of this body. But as we start to open up and expand and remove some of our mental and emotional stresses in the body as well, not only the repetitive physical actions, we create this space. And in this space, a healing can take place. And we create this space in our mind so we have less thoughts, maybe less thoughts that create tension. There's different levels of thoughts. There's the ones we really want. They're inspiring thoughts. They help to reveal our inner source even. They bring forth our purpose in life and allows us to fulfill it. But then there's thoughts that seem to take away from that inspiration. So it's letting go of those 80,000 to 90,000 thoughts that are said to pass through our mind every day. And a lot of them are stress-producing. So we need to find something that is not just based upon one part of healing, because to be healed, it's comprehensive. It needs to take in consideration that we're multifaceted beings. And we work on a physical level, we work on a mental level, and a spiritual level. And in between there, you can find the emotional body and the intellectual body. But very simply, the body, mind, and spirit. But still, within that realm, there's so much to us. And one is that we live in this physical body. It's a temporary body, but we need to take care of it so that we can have a long, productive life. And in this body, sometimes the yogis call it a food body, because it's created by the food, it's sustained by the food. And here, growing up in the West, we've heard so much, we are what we eat. And it's become so widely spread, that thought, or at least that line, that I'm not sure if we've taken time to ponder it and realize, there's a great, great truth in that. And that all food vibrates a particular frequency. And we need to take food in that carries the prana at its highest level. And we follow, at least I've followed, over the past 30 years, a plant-based diet. And there's those who've come to practice our yoga over time, as yourself, have embraced the same diet. And we can testify it goes far beyond just what it's doing for our physical body. It gives us the energy to really bring about greater clarity to our mind. But now we're seeing that the effects of our diet is on human health, and the lack of proper diet, what it's doing to the health of people, is undermining their health. And we can see now it's a widespread issue we have economically because of so many diseases. And now we're also seeing the research to say if we can simplify our diet. And people just make their own steps, but at least make the step toward a healthier diet, because it not only affects us, but for the animal rights and for ecology. So it's not really no longer a time where we can just think it deals with us, because it's far-reaching how we eat. Even today, Harvard, speaks about the values of a plant-based diet on the website. So yes, in TriYoga we embrace a healthy diet because we're in this food body, and we need to live a healthy life so that we can then see how that affects our mind. Because as you said, when people have any of these debilitating diseases like this, it is depressing. I mean, how can you maintain that positive attitude so easily? So at least we can take action. We can do yoga. We can embrace a positive diet. We can come together, like in our centers we have community, being together with like minds. Can you imagine our journey if we were just solo on it? But we developed such strong friendships because we're all here to take the next step, to make not only ourselves better, but our community and our world. I mean, so yoga has to be all-embracing. And this, it should always be that way, but this time period we live in is calling for that, that we have to be well-rounded in our approach. And we need to take action now. And TriYoga gives us that map so that we know exactly how we can progress. And then we get the community support with our TriYoga Center like we have here in Boston.
Well, our community built this center. It had so many felt that this is such an important part of their lives. They wanted to expand it and offer it to others and make it available because we know how amazing it is in all its positive qualities, and it just helps no matter what you're doing. It doesn't matter what your path is.
Absolutely.
It makes you stronger and better fit for your life.
Because TriYoga welcomes everybody from all walks of life, all ages. We have programs for all conditions. You know, when we say it's a complete yoga center, it really is in every sense of the word. But we want to realize that what we do here is going to allow us to have more energy. And that energy, it's like, you know, you go into a gas station, you fill up your tank, you can drive anywhere you want with it. So you can use the energy that you gain through these practices and take it back into your life. And so everyone is welcome, because it's really about how do we access this healing energy. I mean, it's in us all. And how can we access it? And TriYoga offers, you know, a path that clearly defines it. It's systematically, it's laid out, and you can just follow the steps and partake of any part you want. And I think that's why we have such a thriving community, because people are coming from different walks of life and joining in. And together, it's just so inspiring, you know, to see the progression in everyone's life. Every time I come, it's like you can see more energy, more health, more excitement.
Kaliji, one of the most magical parts of TriYoga for me certainly are the over 1,000 mudras that have come through. Can you speak a little bit about these hand gestures? We're starting to hear more about it. Books are being published. They're talking about the therapeutic value of these mudras, but TriYoga mudras are something else altogether.
Well, let's define mudra. One is that we can say they're hand gestures, but they're also the way that we move our eyes, and even the way we can hold our body. It's the way that we focus energy. So we can see that the postures are to reduce the tension, you know, so that the energy can begin to flow. We do breathing practices so that we can increase the energy. And then we focus our mind through just the mental focus, through the eyes, through the hands. And right now, to speak on the hands for a moment, these are called hasta mudra, hasta meaning hands. And when we first met, I know you walked through the door of mudra. And even as you spoke and asked me to speak about it, your hands were in various gestures, and they were expressing. Well, I know that you weren't orchestrating directly to your hands how to move just then, but you were saying something, you were expressing it from your heart, and your hands were moving accordingly. Well, in the same way, we can use our hands, that's going like from inside out, because we're thinking, and here's the manifestation. But now we can take the hands and go from outside in. And it's just like communicating inside. We've seen it, you know, throughout history where people come to a place of devotion or worship, and they can bring their hands together. Like they're coming in front of an altar that inspires them, that moves energy to their heart, automatically comes. No one even has to tell them necessarily to do this. Sometimes it just happens. And we've become used to this one. Okay, this is a mudra. If we come into the mudra knowledge, we see this represents our outer self and our inner. So we're coming together, bringing the two as one. You know, feeling that balance in ourself. It's like our heart chakra has 3 main energy centers below and 3 main above. So it's that, again, that coming together. Also in many parts of the world, this is how they greet. It's like I honor the divinity within you. That divinity is the same within me. So we enter into that place of oneness. So in both cases, this mudra is to bring together this inherent duality we live in and bring some unity within this diversity, this unity within this multiplicity. And we come together like this, we can start to feel, it feels a bit more centered. Anyone can feel that if they just hold it. We've known since childhood, many of us have played and moved our hands like this, and we can start to feel this energy, between our hands. So we know it's there, but somehow that's as far as most go, even though they can feel it. They can feel how there's something there. Well, our hands have this energy emanating from them. In brief, it's these nadi system. Nadi are pathways that life energy flows through. You may be more familiar with meridians, and we have an acupuncture session or acupressure. They're working on these energy centers. So it is said that these energy centers, or these energies that flow from the energy centers, this prana flows out through our hands. And that's one of the reasons they're so active in our life. They're ready to grasp, to grab, to hold, to create, to communicate, to connect. When we practice our yoga asana and TriYoga, we come with the back. It's like we move through the air, through the space, energetically differently than if we're going out to the world. We're more coming in. So in our asana practice, we can use very simple ones, such as one that you can just use in daily life. You can be sitting here, you can be in line, anywhere. You can be sitting down, you can be coming to meditation. We use them with our postures. And someone might say, well, why do we use these? Because it's not something they've seen, and there are different Hatha Yoga practices. Maybe they reach with their hands out. Maybe their hands just hold out in the air, but ours will be using mudra because they are healing. And that's why we're first practicing asanas. We have to become healed to the best of our ability, and then we're ready for the next level of yoga practice. We have to start where we are. We know when we're sick and unhealthy, our mind's already preoccupied with becoming well again. So wherever we are, we can all make a shift toward coming into greater health. Where our hands are a significant part of it. But so is our breath, but our breath is more so. Meaning that how we think, it affects our hands. How we think affects our breathing. How we think makes our eyes look around more, blink more. Our eyes and our breath, for example, are 15 times per minute. They're blinking or breathing. And then our hands in between are also expressing our emotions, our thoughts. So we're looking at all of this when we practice yoga. Mudra without taking into consideration of the breath is not a mudra. It has to have the asana with it also. That's why in TriYoga it's yoga asana, pranayama, that's the breath, and mudra, that's the focus of the mind. So it's not only putting the hands out here and trying to do different gestures, but it's what is the intention in the mind. That is the ultimate mudra, how we focus in the mind. And as a result, the breath will become rhythmical with that intention, and our hands will begin to reflect this inward focus that's taking place. With that said, we could say the same for asana. Without the breath and the mudra, it's really not an asana yet. People will start with just the asana. They'll be stretching their leg and maybe watching TV, maybe talking, but they are stretching, so they're getting a third of it happening. So we can also just start with the mudra, and instead of allowing our hands just fidget like they do and move around, or we get worried, we get stressful, and they start to show it, then if we can't change the mind right away and have the right intention, let's put the hands in a gesture. Automatically that starts to channel those restless energies that give rise to an unhealthy flow of prana, which results in an unhealthy body over time. So we can just take very simple gestures, and I'll just show like here and hold. You start to feel nervous or concerned, or like say when someone starts to get angry, they start to make fist or start to pull in initially, but then the hotter we get, the more it can turn into something like this. And then we know we have anti-mudras at that point starting to take place. So we can just take our hands and shift them. We can change our breath with it. We can aim to bring our mind into more balance when these underlying emotions start to take over. So we can work it that way. Otherwise, we can use them in a way that we can find these therapeutic mudras that feel good to us and just hold them like an asana. And just be with them for a while and let them speak to you, because they activate a flow of energy, but where you need that to go to, that's unique, so your experience will be unique. But they are to activate, so it's more of exploring, saying, how does it feel to hold my hands like this? And before we say, oh, I can't do that, then question why you do this, and that's okay. You know, instead in a slouch pose, hands are just fidgeting, eyes are moving around. But think if you could focus your eyes in a mudra, just relaxed position, open or closed. Have the breath slow, deep, rhythmical, and bring the hands into these different patterns. And explore this yourself, because we're on this planet to explore consciousness, and yoga is a direct link to allow us to explore what's going on inside. So mudras can be used for therapeutic purposes, because everything's connected, you know, in our body through this nadi system. This is a direct way. They can be used to start to access greater energy that we can use as fuel for meditation. And we can sit in this inward state of meditation, maintaining mudra with it. And then we'll see that it enhances us to be able to go deep inside and to know thyself. And that's when the great healing takes place.